Oh, I think I was on mute. So, uh, so welcome everyone. So my name is Pranav Bhagat, and I welcome you to the episode Life Coding Happy Hour, a show brought to you by ServiceNow Developer Program. In this show, basically we do live demos or something. These are non-scripted, like how we do in the Creative Toolbox. And today we have a very interesting topic that's part of our Vancouver release. So if you haven't heard about the Vancouver release, check out our content calendar at devlink.sn/Vancouver. So we're going to talk about spoke generator. So, but before we go into the topic, I'm going to start with introduction. As you know, my name is Pranav Bhagat, and I'm a senior developer advocate here at ServiceNow. I've been into the ServiceNow ecosystem for around 8 years, and I recently joined ServiceNow like 1 year back. So that's about me, and I'm going to pass it to Ashutosh.
Hey, thanks Pranav for having us. I'm Ashutosh Munot. I'm one of the Dev MVP, uh, uh, and I work with Nationale Nederlanden. It's a company, a financial institute in Netherlands. And then I will pass on to Sugandh.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Sugandh. I am a principal product manager at ServiceNow. I've been in ServiceNow for like a bit more than 9 years now, and and I'm the product manager for the Spoke generator that we're going to talk about today.
Uh, hey everyone, so this is Lalit, and I'm a staff engineer with ServiceNow. And it's been almost like 5 years I've been associated with ServiceNow. And yeah, probably we're gonna talk about Spoke Generator, which is being released in Vancouver, and I'm really excited about it.
All right, so that's why folks who are watching us, we have three experts with me because this is my first time playing with Spoke Generator and I don't want to mess it up. So I got three experts. So firstly, Sugandh, like I'd like to ask you, what is a Spoke Generator? Like if you can give a one-line summary to our audience, what is a Spoke Generator?
Yeah. So before I like tell you about like what is Spoke generator, let me just talk about what is Integration Hub, right? So Integration Hub is ServiceNow's application to integrate with third-party systems. So this primarily becomes the hub, the hub, of all communication integrations, and and the each and the each connector we build with the third party is called a spoke. Now, today we ship about 200 spokes out of the box. Like we like we often get asked for spokes which don't exist out there. So what we did was we created spoke generator to basically help our customers build their own spokes. So that's what spoke generator is.
Perfect. All right. So this is something coming up for everyone. So before we jump into all the demos and everything, let's go ahead and introduce our drinks. So I'll start off like I'm drinking a regular water because it's like 11 a.m. in the morning for me. So I don't want to drink something alcohol or something. So regular water for me. Ashutosh.
I think I will follow you. I have a tea, Indian tea, basically, because it's 7:30 in the morning. So I will just start with the tea today.
Yep, yep.
Sugandh,
So
to you.
yeah, so I have a like matcha green tea because green is the color of the season, and it's like 11 o'clock in the night for me. I need to stay awake for the session.
And
Not,
love it.
not an exciting drink, but again, lukewarm water with honey. It has its own benefits. So yeah, it's early in the morning. That's what I drink.
So I think this show is like life coding sober hour for everyone.
Yeah, we'll say that. Yeah.
Indeed.
Indeed.
All right. So let's jump into the instance now. So I think like let me share my screen. I hope like just confirm if you're able to see my instance.
Yeah.
All right. So folks who are watching us, like what I'm trying to do is like Sugandh explained us about spoke generator. So what the process will be like, I'm going to consume the open API specification of Zoom and try to create some meetings in Zoom from ServiceNow. And I have done this kind of process sometime back, like a couple of years back for one of the client, and it took like almost 2 weeks to 3 weeks to build the whole integration with proper credential and on. And now like I'm trying to build this thing in 50 minutes or so. So let's see the power of spoke generator. So first thing like I'd like to show you is, if you can see on top, you this is the open API specification for Zoom. I got it from their official site, and I'm gonna put this specification link in the description also, so that you folks can play around with it if you want to. Okay, and the other thing that I did is I just created some credentials also, so that it's I'll show you the process of creating credentials, but in interest of time I've already created the credential, so that we just focus on the good part, that's the spoke generator. So all right, so first thing like how we can access spoke generator. So as you know, we have to go to the flow, like flow designer. Just type flow designer. So once you type, now in the Vancouver release, you can see that there is like something like a spoke section that's there, and you can see we have an option of spoke. So Lalit and Sugandh, you guys are also here. So if I'm doing something wrong, just pinpoint to me.
Hey,
Okay, that,
Pranav, can we
yes,
Sure.
zoom it a bit, the browser?
yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
this
Is
great.
one.
it
Yeah.
better
Thank you.
now?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna create a new spoke, and like once we click on the new spoke, it basically asks us like what's the spoke name. So I'm gonna say live coding happy hour Zoom spoke, and it will just ask us to enter a description, and the also you can put or upload your image for this particular spoke, that's there. And let me click on create and continue. Now like generally till now, there are like you can see we always build all these spoke actions manually as of now, but with Vancouver we have this called as open API specification, that's like will ease our work and all. So let me click on this thing and continue. Now it's asking us like, okay, open API source as well as connections. That's there. So this is kind of an open API specification that I was talking about. If I zoom it a bit, so you can see, right? It's basically is like a kind of it's in a JSON format which is readable for the machine as well, and also for human. So you can see like what's a summary list of sub accounts and what are like URLs and everything. It's kind of defined in the open specification documentation. So I'm going to just grab this particular link, and what I'm going to do is like I'm going to import new. So I'll say import from URL, and we also have some like option of import from JSON. So I think what we can do is like we can copy all this JSON to and paste it here, and I think that will be a same format. And let me just go ahead and put the URL here, and I'm going to click on import. So let's see. I think it takes, so Sugandh and Lalit, correct me if I'm wrong. It takes a while, right? I think it
Yeah.
takes
Yeah.
a minute or two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Gotcha.
Just to add, it gonna, since it has close to hundreds of operations, it takes time us to import and in the backend process.
Hey, I think it got imported. So it didn't even took like a minute. So
Even.
that's a good part. So I think we have the Zoom API spoke. That's a Zoom API, Open API specification already there. Now what we have to do is like we have to create like the credentials and everything. So I'm gonna put like live coding happy hour creds, Zoom.
So, Pranav, meanwhile, you are creating the credentials. There is a
Hmm.
question like which kind of SKU this spoke generator is. Do we need any license? Maybe Sugandh can answer this.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. So I can. I
generally
actually.
go ahead, Sajin. Sugandh.
Yeah. Yes. So basically, so we have basically, if you have the integration hub like professional or enterprise license, you will be able to see this. So these are the like minimum licenses you require to build any spoke even manually, and the same license will apply for the spoke generator as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Sugandh. And folks, if you're watching us like 2 hours for 2 years from the lifetime, things might change. So always remember safe harbor. We just don't
Yeah,
talk about licensing because it changes every time, right? So
yeah,
again, safe harbor. This can change anytime. All right. So you can see this connection areas, folks. Like I've given a name and I have selected a template like Zoom template. That's a custom template that I created for the Zoom thing. And let me just create it. So now I have just created this thing. Now let me click on generate operations. So I'm just super excited to see that it automatically generated 155 operations. And just think about it. If anybody has worked with Integration Hub, right, who has worked with Integration Hub, they will know the pain, like how much time it takes to create just one. And it just automatically created like everything for us. And I would like to do something like create meetings. So let me see if there is any search. Yeah, we have something like search. So if I just do create meeting right now, and so I think Lalit and Sugandh. So right now I'm just clicking on create meeting. Should I just directly publish it or like should I save it,
yeah,
save action as draft? What is the difference basically?
So
yeah,
yeah, publish means you select. So these are operations. Just to add some more context, these are the operations which are part of the OpenAPI specification. So now
Mm-hmm.
what we do is, the moment you select the operation and you click on publish or draft, we're gonna create an action in the backend along with
Okay.
this step itself, taking care of all the inputs and outputs, and everything will be taking care of it in the backend. You just have to select what kind of operation you want from this OpenAPI specification, in this case Zoom, and then publish. And you can do bulk publish also. Here it's not just one, you can do even tens or hundreds of operation you can publish and
Oh,
take care of it. Yeah.
gotcha. So I think you can select all these things and will it work when I move to page two? Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. I think I like this feature. So for interest of time, I'm just going to select create a meeting and I'm going to go to page two and I'm going to just put all these things. Or maybe I can also have something like retrieve a meeting also. And maybe like let's add some fun. Like I'll also add update meeting if I want to update the agenda. Let's go into like webinar. We can also create some webinars and all. So let me do a webinar. So I think we have almost of six action that we can build from it. So I'm gonna do publish six. And I think it will just try to create actions. And I think we have all these things that are created. Let me see. So it just created one for me. Let's see what's the activity that's there. And yeah, it just created one as of now. Did I not select it? Let me so click on new action, and this is where the fun begins, where we have to debug why it didn't got created.
yeah.
So let me just go into Open API specification again, click on Zoom API, do the same thing, click on generate action, and I'm gonna create a meeting. So I'll just try meeting.
So
create a
again,
meeting.
Pranav, as you are doing this, there is a question from Islam. He says, "What's the difference between Connect Zoom directly versus the spoke connecting? Is it a new feature in Vancouver?"
Connecting spoke directly, what I think what he's asking is like right now we have an integration hub spoke that's already there with the Zoom for Zoom, right? So and why we are creating it using a spoke generator. I think that's if that's the
Yeah.
question, I'm just trying to show you the power of spoke generator, right? We already have 200 different spokes available in the integration hub. Spoke generator will be helpful where when the integration is not available and you are creating something new which has the open API specification available. So that's kind of a use case about uh, for spoke generator. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
So so
And
sorry, I'm
just
not reading the comments. Go ahead, Lalit.
yeah, so I was just saying that, and also like whenever you see basically um, you see a spoke which already exists, and and you see that the action you need, so maybe like create a meeting actually already exists in our publicly available like meeting, but as of today, create a webinar does not exist, and maybe for your workflow which you're building, you need create a webinar. So
Hmm.
so then what you can do is that you like when you saw the list of spokes, you will see your Zoom spoke over there. You can click on it and add a new action and say that I want the add a new action from an OpenAPI spec. So in an already existing spoke, which is already published by you or made by you already, you can still use the spoke generator to create new use cases, new integrations, new spokes, new actions.
Perfect. Thanks, Sugandh, for adding that information. Yep. So I think that answered the question from the chat. And let me go ahead and now, like, till the time like we were talking, we already have the actions that are generated. So let me click on any of the action. That's like create a meeting action that's there. So you can see we have this new open API step that's added. Like this is, I think, a new step for the spoke generator, right? So you can see it populated everything, like what are the inputs that are needed and all these things that are provided. And also like you can see we have a connection alias that's created. Now like we have to click on like the I button and we have to configure it, right? We have to go ahead and I hope it's visible. So we have to create the new connection and credential for it. So to create this thing, we have to fill this particular form like, okay, give it a name, the connection URL, the OAuth entity name, client ID, client secret, and all. So I have all these things with me. Let me quickly copy all these things. And just to show you folks, I've already created this thing in interest of time for you all, but let me just at least add it. And then I'm gonna, so the redirect URL is there. So on entity Zoom. So I think that's a just an entity name. And this is a very straightforward integration because like we have like we have the OAuth setup. So OAuth is very easy to configure for us. So let me just go ahead and put the URL. I think the connection URL is this. So I think folks, like this is how we have put it there. And one thing that I felt is like these things are like it's for maybe for the engineering team. Like when I pasted this thing, this should be more of a placeholder rather than a text. Oh, not a like some kind of a back placeholder, I can say. So that when I pasted it, it just pasted directly. I hope that makes like
Yeah,
what I did, like yeah.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
clicked on it, like it just pasted like this. But it should be more of like it should just replace everything. So that's there. So I think like now we can just create and get a OAuth token that's there. In interest of time, as I already told, like I've already created a connection alias which have all these things. That's a Zoom alias that's there. So I'm gonna click this thing
So
and
just
yeah.
to say, you can use the existing one. I generated for you the token. So yeah,
Oh, perfect. Thanks. Thanks, Lalit. So I
use the
think
existing.
that's there.
Uh,
Yeah, I use the Zoom alias one. That's the existing one. That's
So,
there.
so Pranav, Chuck has a question. Didn't we already
Hmm.
have the capability of importing an OpenAI specifications in Integration Hub to create actions? I mean, he says like it seemed he recalls that it was already there few releases ago.
So Open API step, I think
Yeah. So
Open API step is new, but yeah, Lalit, you can add on to that.
Yeah,
yeah,
so I can just add. So we had actually the functionality, but that was on the rest step. Okay, so what you have to do is still have to do is you have to go for create a action, use a rest step, and then eventually import an open API and select the operation. So you have to do this for multiple actions. What we are doing now is we are utilizing the power of the spoke generator, wherein you can just select the operation and we do everything for you in a bulk manner. So earlier it was not there, it was just one step, you just configure one operation at a time. Now you can do multiple at a time in
and
hundreds or 200s of operations you can publish in a single code.
and the other thing you'll actually you will see, like, in terms of the benefits over there, so the JSON file you actually showed us, right? You'll have to go and research yourself on basically um, like which operation do I want to use, right? And you'll have to see, okay, uh, look through the description to try to understand what does this operation do and how we can use it. What we have built over here is that when you went on that, we can actually go back on that page. If you can show the list of operations, um, it
Yep.
actually like surfaces all that. If you could go uh, on the spoke generator and add a new action on the spoke detail page. Yeah. The
Okay.
yeah the spoke tab, the second tab you have, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and do a new
So
action from OpenAPI spec. You already have the OpenAPI spec, and when you do generate
yep.
operations, what it basically does, it basically gives you a little bit of description on basically like what do you want to do. So basically, th- this is basically that research interface. Other Earlier you were required to go through that JSON and parse that information out yourself.
And I think like another point I can add on is like, so I think what Chuck was asking is more of like we had a REST step, how these are a bit different. So in the REST step, I think we had to configure everything. And what I'm seeing in the Open API specification, most of the stuff is read only for us. It's like it's coming from the standard Open API specification, and we just have to provide with the details and everything. So it's both are almost similar, but Open API specification, I get it why it's read only, because these are standard. So we don't want like we don't need to even edit it, because if it's a standard or everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's there. And I think coming back to the Open API spec, so we have the connection that's there, and I think we are almost done. We have built this thing. Now it's time for us to test it. So we have to fill all these fields. And folks, I haven't created any of these fields. These all came from the Open API specification that's there. So what I'm going to do is like I have the documentation opened up with me, and I hope that's there. So I'm going to fill some of the mandatory field, like let me go into there. So we have to fill the duration. So let's see what it accepts. The field is only used for schedule. So yeah, we want to create an instant meeting. So we want to use the duration. And let me see if we have a type of meeting in the end. So we want an instant one. So I think I'm gonna put like type
So
equal to one. Go
so
ahead.
so so it actually shows you like the user ID is the only mandatory field. Everything else is optional. So you just need to provide the user ID for which the meeting is being, the user who's basically the owner of the meeting, right?
Hmm.
The mod, right? So that's the only thing you need to add.
Got it. But that's a thing, right? Like, so when I was reading this spec, this
Mhm.
one, you can see that we have the field tracking field as given as mandatory in the documentation, right? But here, like we it's not mandatory. I think it's like tracking fields. You can see this field, it's not mandatory. So that's kind of confusing why it's mandatory in the documentation
Mm-hmm.
and why it's not mandatory in the open API specification. That's why I'm just double checking if it's anything is required for me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can pitch in here. So just to give some context, I think the open API specification which is being generated by third party, we heavily depend on it. Okay, so if there is some issues in the specification, we're gonna see that here in our actions, right? So I would say if it's not mandatory here, that means the specification would not have that field as mandatory for us, and that's where the gap is. So it has to be
Hmm.
corrected by the third parties, not something we can do here.
Got it. I think that makes sense. And I think like then based on I'll go with the documentation part,
Yeah,
right? So maybe there is some, as Lalit you mentioned, there might be some issue with this open API spec, or maybe the one that I'm right now using, it might be the like old version. This is the new version came up and the documentation is updated accordingly, right?
could
So
be. That's true.
yeah, yeah. So I think what we have to do is like I think we have to pass some fields. Uh, right. To be honest, I'm not aware of like what exactly these fields do, but this is a mandatory field. So I'm just gonna pass like field one that's there, and we're gonna read the documentation once it works, just to see like what exactly these tracking field means. And again, folks, this is a kind of a Zoom API configuration that we are doing, and this is like we can put anything. And I think I can gonna put live coding happy hour meeting. I'm gonna put this thing, and do I need to put anything else? Let me see that. So, Lalit, like I know you guys are experienced. Like, do we need to put anything else here, or I think we're good.
Yeah, I
I
think topic
think
makes sense because that's the meeting, heading or headline.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I think that's something we should add, and then probably, yeah. So
Okay, gotcha. Agenda. So I think we can put agenda and topic is more of like a heading. So live
yeah,
coding happy hour heading, right?
and
Okay.
then reoccurring. I think reoccurring piece also. I think it's the above one, the reoccurring. Like how do you uh, want to be created?
Hmm.
I think these are also some of the fields I think we should fill in. Looks like required for
Because
this API.
I think because I'm creating an instant meeting, the
Yeah.
type is instant meeting, so I don't think like we need this thing, but we can go into the doc and just to see if we need anything recurring. Let
Yeah.
me see if
Yeah.
that's
So,
there.
mandatory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can see.
Yeah.
You can,
So you won't need anything. You just the mandatory field is actually enough, which is the user ID. It needs an admin, and that's all it needs.
We can try that out, but as far as I know, they are throwing some issues when we hit without reoccurring. So they say missing field. We can show that. That's a good thing to
Yeah. Let's try
point
it out.
out.
Yeah.
We can just try it out.
gotcha. So I think like let's run it and see. And let me click on run test.
Hmm.
And so I think it's completed and I'm seeing the action status as success. And
Yes.
I think we have to go to a different screen. Like I think let me move into a different screen to just to see if it's visible or not. I think like let me move
So
into a
yeah,
different screen.
so there is a issue actually here. I can see you can show in the outbound HTTP logs. You can gonna see that they are saying missing field. I don't know why they have not marked it, but looks like something wrong on the Zoom side. So
All right. So I think like let me go back. Yeah, this is where the fun begins, where we have to
yeah,
debug it. Like I'll go to the HTTP logs
yeah.
and
Just show the
we
first
have
one.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's there. And I think there is a four response status 400. That's there. And let me see the request and what's the response that's coming up. So it's
yeah.
saying that missing field. Yeah, we have to
Recurrent.
pass the recurrence type. That's a missing field. Hmm,
Right.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
probably the type is the one we have to edit. or something.
Yes.
Different,
Yeah. So yeah, you can see this is
mandatory.
kind of like yeah. This is the man. That's why there is a slight difference between the Open API spec that we have and the documentation. So
Yeah.
maybe that's there.
Yeah,
Type
let me
equal to
type. Yeah.
1, and I'm gonna run it again, and let me know it's worked, but let me go back to the outbound HTTP request and just to see it's 201. I think it's created, it's successful. So let's go into let it, like I think you are on that screen, right? Just confirm whether we are able to uh whether we have the meeting created or not.
Yeah, I think we haven't given the start time and all, so it's not popping up on the front.
Yeah.
I, I think it's more of like a instant meeting, so you can go
Yeah.
into the maybe personal room or something, personal room that's there, or
Yeah.
I think we can give the timing also.
Yeah. Yeah. So check the response. It should have the meeting number, and we can actually try using Zoom to join that.
Hmm, gotcha. I think that's
Yeah.
there. So meeting. I'm coming back to my screen and
Yeah.
let's see
Yeah. The
if we
the action
have.
output. Yeah.
Yeah, that will be the nice.
Yeah. So
So
this
I think
is it has the meeting ID 370 something. Yeah.
yes. So I think the meeting ID is there,
Yeah. This one.
and
The 3701.
sorry, yes, this one.
370592. Yeah. Yeah. And it should
So
have the same topic name and all the
mhm,
stuff.
got it. I think the on Zoom the instant meeting is not showing up. So maybe what I can do is like I can create a regular meeting. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just put instead of instant, I can just put a scheduled one. Like we just have to edit the type. You can see this is the type, a
Mm-hmm.
scheduled one. So I can just put number 2. Uh, here in the let me go back. I'm gonna go to the create meeting and I'm gonna put type equal to 2 so that it's like a scheduled one. And if I'm doing a scheduled one, I need to see which fields I need to pass.
Yeah.
It's number 2 that's there, and I think 1 will be the timing for sure, like when it starts. So I'm gonna put something like this, like any time. I think it says today date and password is there. We added a tracking field, so we have field. We have the topic that's there. In the recurrence, I think we don't need recurring meeting, so I think we can skip this thing.
So
But
maybe you
mhm,
need duration because then you put start time. So
correct.
will it automatically calculate the end time if you put duration like 60 minutes? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I think we have to put the duration also. Like it's saying that the durations it's in minutes, so I can just put 30 here, and then we don't need to provide end date time or end times because it's not a recurrence. And in the setting, like I think we have given the start time. It's in UTC format, so that's how it's coming up. I think the format is right. And let me see if there is what how they want the start time in. I think let me go ahead and check. Let me see if I'm gonna search it. Start time. Okay. So yeah, it's a start time. So it's asking us the start time as like to set a meeting start time using a specific time zone, use this. Otherwise, you can put like this. So I think this is the same format. Let me still copy this thing and I'm gonna paste it like this and just update it. 23, 9, and 31. I'm just putting it like to 12th, and I'm gonna put time as I'll keep it like this. I think we are good now. Let's see if it creates a meeting there. All right, so let's run it. And yep, test is finished. Let me see outbound test request. we have another one that's created. It's 201. So let me see if the meeting type is. So I think let's check if there is anything created. So I think Lalit,
September
you
12th.
are on that
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Can you
you
September
click
check?
12th.
on it's being created. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I think that's all right. I think that's there. So yeah, this is how it's created. Now, one thing I'm gonna do lastly is like let me update the title altogether. Right. So we have another one. So we have the meeting ID. So I can just click on this thing and I'm going to put the output and we have the meeting ID. So I'll try to update the title from live coding happy hour meeting to something else. So let's see if we can do it quickly. So I'm going to put live coding happy hour that's there. I think we
Updated.
have already added that particular thing, but let me see. It's like update meeting.
So if it's already being added, then you should go to another page. You can go to yeah, this one.
Yeah, so it's already added and we already have the cred and everything, cred. So let me go here and we have to just change it to the Zoom alias that's there. Let me save it and let's see. Let me just click on test. So I think we have the meeting ID. This is the
Yeah.
meeting ID. And for the topic, I'm gonna put like I'm I'm not that creative with names, so I'm gonna put live coding happy hour topic 2. So let's see. Let me just click on run test and just to see like so we have run it. I'm gonna go into the outbound HTTP request. It's okay. It's 400 again. I think we have to pass some field type that's missing. So validation message. That's there, missing fields. So maybe like it's asking tracking field. Okay, yeah. So we have
Okay.
to
I mean, it's
pass
the
like,
same set of fields. I think even
yeah,
the recurring type also it wants.
got it. So let me put, I need to understand this, like what is this tracking field? Definitely there will be some relevance to this particular thing and recurring type. I think we can just put it one and we didn't provide a recurring time, right? Let me see. Let's see. So I clicked on it and outbound request
The fourth.
204. This is different. Payload logging not supported for unknown content type. Hmm.
It's a success. Just we need to see if it's already updated.
So it sent back anything which was not.
Yeah. So it's a success. 204 is a success. You can see it's updated on the screen.
Okay. I think like probably we can. Okay. Yeah. I think that's updated. Cool. So I think we are successful. I think like let's bring everyone on the screen, back to
Mhm.
the screen.
I have a question,
And yeah.
mainly for the spoke generator, like because I have many on in-house applications, right?
Mhm.
And we host these in-house applications on some servers or AWS. So if I understood this correctly, open specs API is mandatory. So even if I create an in-house application, I need to make sure that there is a OpenAI specification for that
Hmm.
application, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. And if we host it on some documentation, it will still work. The spoke generator will still work. We just need to establish a connection between where the OpenAI specification has been hosted. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So if you're hosting it somewhere else, um, and that information is not in the OpenAPI spec, while making the connection, you can actually update that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's more of like Ashutosh. I even tried some time back, like to generate some open API specification for certain APIs which were not there. So there are a lot of tools online, like I think Swagger tools, all these things, which creates this open API specification. But the challenge with it is like it requires proper parameters because it's like a standard language, right? So that machines and humans can read all these things. So yeah, we can play around with it. Maybe this might be another topic for the live coding API where we can just try to create an open API spec from a different thing and use in the spoke generator and all. So I think like that's pretty much it about the spoke generator that I would like to show. And so like let's move into any other. Let's look into the comment section if there is any questions or something.
There is an interesting comment at the end. I would love to see reverse. If I
Regenerative
generate
support.
a spoke, have a way to dump out YAML or JSON. Nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's an enhancement for the product team. I think like we have a spoke and reverse engineering on it. Nice, that's there. All right, I don't see any other comments. So, firstly, folks, thank you very much for joining this live coding happy hour. And we were drinking. I think we were all drinking sober drinks. So let's go ahead and rate. So I was not even able to drink my water because I was doing the coding most of the time. So, but water is there. It's like 5 out of 5. What about you, Ashutosh?
Oh, my tea is always in the morning. It's 5 out of 5. It refreshes me.
Gotcha.
Over to Sugandh.
So, second.
So my like green tea is again like 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
And Lalit.
Same here because I love this and it gives me energy in the mornings to run the day. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, that's I think that's great. So I think that's all, folks, we have for you in this live coding happy/sober hour. So I hope you enjoyed watching the spoke generator, and we have all these content coming up. So make sure you check out our content calendar at devling.sn/Vancouver, where you will find a lot of different content around App Engine, Automation Engine, and platform. So thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Bye.